Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffe Kennedy, author of epic fantasy romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Ah, delightful. Today is, say it with me, people, it is Friday. Woohoo! December 6th. Ah, and I'm happy. I'm going to finish this book today. Woohoo! Yes. A Rose in the Mirror is almost done. Um, it's funny because this book has come out smack on the beats all along. I thought it would change shape in revision. I could talk about that a little bit more for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, but it did not. It did not change shape. And I was just sure it would. So I have technically, according to my predictions, 505 words to go. The numbers on this have been freaky. Okay, so um, I don't feel like this is outing her. She won't mind. My good friend Darynda Jones is superstitious about numbers. She loves it. She's always looking for signs and omens and numbers. And so, like, she'll know when it's like a especially good date. And maybe I've caught some of this from her. I'm definitely an omens kind of person. Number one strength, Clifton strength, is connectedness. I believe everything means something. Um, so yeah, 505 words to go, 505, area code of New Mexico. Coincidence? Yeah, maybe. But yesterday I posted, I got to the final chapter, and the final chapter is chapter 33, and it's on page 333. I don't know. It just seems there's something magical to it. It's like, oh, and this book, I keep worrying, as I probably do every time. I'm trying to be zen about that. It's weird and different. And so I worry about this book a little bit, but like the signs are all there that so when I talk about the shape didn't change, some of you know this, so I'll go quickly. But basically, I like the 8 scene, 3 act structure. Some people get upset about this and their mathematical minds, and they want it to be a 4 act structure, like whatever works for you. Act one is the first 25%. Act two is the middle 50%, split by the midpoint. If you want to call that Act two and Act three, knock yourself out, whatever makes sense to you. And then Act three, if we go with my model, which is, I'm just going to say, is the standard. Act two is the middle 50%. Act three is the last 25%. Sometimes we say like the Act three climax occurs at 90%, and the rest is denouement. I'm not sure that's true anymore. I don't think I really write that way. Certainly, today's standards, we don't spend 10% on setting up the story, which is kind of the standard model or the classic model. Today's readers expect to get immersed much more quickly. So, as I'm writing the book, I kind of know. Oh, so the 8 scenes, like got a cat hair in my eye. The 8 scenes then are evenly divided throughout that. So Act one is scene one and scene two. Act two, being the middle 50%, is scenes three, four, five, and six. Then you have acts 7, 8, and 9, 10, right? And scenes are, and a lot of this comes from screenwriting too, which I find useful. Basically, for me, scene one, it's not actors enter the stage and actors leave the stage, which is how we typically define scenes in theater. For me, a scene, and I think a lot of writers who use this method think of it this way. And for me, this is like just sort of how I put a structure around, describe what I've written. A scene is basically a sequence. So, scene one is the initial sequence, establishing characters, establishing location, establishing all kinds of things. The end of Act one scenes 1 and 2, the first 25% of the book, is basically you set all the stakes for the story. I'm a big believer that by the end of Act 1, all the stakes should be set. If you're having trouble later in the book, go back and see that you really did set all your stakes from Act 1. Because if you did that correctly, the rest of the book should unspool from there. So, scene 1, I know is the first 12.5% of the book. So when I feel like I've finished my establishing sequence, I can predict how long the book will be at that point. And so I can tell you all on A Rose in the Mirror, when I finished what I believe to be scene 1, I predicted that the book would be about 88,000 words. And as I wrote it, my beats, like as soon as I would come to like what I thought was midpoint, it was exactly on. I mean, it's like give or take 1,000 words, something like that. But it's more or less, it was right on. And I thought, well, it's going to change shape in revision. And I knew I was moving things around. Those of you who listen a lot know that I cut chapter 2 entirely. I never brought it back. That was just like working my way into the character, which I don't do often, but I apparently had to do. None of that stuff came back. Totally different chapter 2. And then I changed the order of some things, which is also unusual for me, but the shape did not change. My original scene 1 was at, well, let's see if I can figure it out here. It was around 11,000 words. And my revised scene 1 ended up at 11,716. So the book grew slightly longer. I was predicting it would come out around 93,728, which is a precise number for something that really isn't that precise. It's almost like literary significant digits should come into play here. But yeah, it's as I revised and added these last few chapters, it's coming out spot on what I predicted. So it's 505 words left to go to hit that 93,728. I anticipate it will be slightly longer, but not by more than 1,000 or 2 words. So she'll be done today. She'll go off to my editor. So that's very exciting. Agent Sarah says that she is going to have tweaks for me on First Order of the Fae Realms, probably by later in the day, Monday. So I'm not going to immediately start a new project. Who knows? Maybe I will just take Monday off or do business. We'll see. Doing lots of things to get ready for Christmas. So I'll sort of see where she's at on those things. Instead of turning around and starting to write Strange Familiar, which I need to do, I think I'll wait and see if she really gets me those tweaks. She's funny because she's like, so that way you can think about them over the holidays and work on them. And I'm like, no, I'm going to get them done by next Friday. Get that back out. We'll see. The industry folks are always very good about allowing us creatives room to get, our creative act on, which sometimes we need. So it's good. And then editor Allie is thinking she's going to get this revision back to me by January. So, it puts the release date for Strange Familiar in peril. I know some of you listening have pre-ordered. Thank you. I think it's almost certain that I will not make that January 27th deadline or release date. I'm hoping that I can push it out to like March 2nd, which is within my allowable window and not lose pre-orders. And I'm just going to wait until I know. And then Magic Reborn, I'm just going to set that and like put my arm way out there. It's going to be October, people. I know this is not what you want to hear, but Because I do have this non-compete with Tor, uh, that I won't put out anything similar within a certain window. This means that I cannot, if I miss getting Magic Reborn out by May, which let's early May too, which let's face it, I am I would have to release it by May 9th, and she ain't gonna happen. Sorry. It was a possibility, but I did wait on setting up that pre-order for that exact reason. So at least I was clever that way. Okay, so I am looking at October 13th. I'm probably just going to set up that pre-order date for Magic Reborn. That'll finish the 9-book cycle, and then we will see where we are at. Um, Such is life. But like traditional publishers make you wait a year. So this would be like 7 months. It's not ideal, but so it goes. There, I thought I was back. I've been dealing with this cat hair in my eye, but I finally got it. I wonder how many people out there deal with pet hairs in their eyes. Is this like, surely it's not just me. Okay, so it's been an exciting week. On Tuesday morning, had the meeting with editor Ali and assistant editor Diana and agent Sarah, and we talked about all kinds of things, and it was a great meeting. It was very fun. I was thinking about along the lines of counting my blessings as a career author and thinking in terms of remember when you wanted what you have now, which I think is a really good lens for looking at the world. It's pretty cool that I got to be in a meeting where like 3 people were there because of me, right? There's a celebration throughout Oz, all to do with me. But this was in a positive way. So, yeah, that's really cool. Me and my work, my favorite topic. So, yeah, it was great. We talked about a lot of different things. We talked about this book, A Rose in a Mirror. We talked about the cover for Never the Roses. We may be going for a slightly different cover. We're like down to the wire, but Ellie came back from parental leave and she's like, this cover is awesome, but it could be more awesome. So we're working on that. And she sent a couple of thoughts and I think they're really cool. And we've been talking about the audiobook narration. And it's going to be dual narration, which I'm super excited about, male, female. So we're going to be listening to auditions from audiobook narrators, so that'll be super cool. And if you're on video, you might have just seen Killian going by outside the window. He's out there prowling around. There was something else interesting I was going to tell you about Never the Roses. Lost it. It's Killian's fault. Let's see. Cover, audiobook. Oh, it was just a cool thing that Allie told me. She said that when she came back from parental leave, that she asked for 2 books right off. I can't imagine being away for 5 months. And Agent Sarah asked in kind of horrified fascination how many emails Allie had, because she was CC'd on everything that whole time. And Allie said she just took everything and she didn't open anything. She just ported it all into the archives. And now as conversations come up in email, she can go and reference those, which I think you'd have to do. So anyway, as soon as she got back, she asked for 2 books and 1 was mine. Isn't that lovely? I almost asked what the other one was. I kind of wanted to know who my sibling is. My sibling competition, but I did not ask. And actually we wouldn't be in competition. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's great. It's really fun. I was realizing, the last time I had a trad pub deal was, Forgotten Empires, and, it was several years ago now. And the interaction on that wasn't anything like this. This has just been amazing. And I was remembering this story, which I believe I've told before, but it bears retelling. Um, that I do feel like it's really important and significant that I got my first six-figure deal, two-book deal with Tor, one of my dream publishers, uh, at this point in my career, 30 years after I first started writing, right? Uh, it's, when people ask how long it takes, I've had a good career. I've had a very solid career. But, when they talk about things like breakout, um, this took a long time. I remember once at an RWA conference, a writer who, and I don't remember who it was, but she said, was up there giving like a keynote, and she said that she didn't hit a bestseller list until her 19th book, and the room collectively gasped. It's like, and oh, okay, and here's Jeffy with 67 published titles. And I've never hit the USA or New York Times bestseller list with any of my books. Uh, I've been on other bestseller lists, but not those two big ones. But I've also never tried. A lot of the people with that USAT bestseller tag, they've done it by working the system. And I won't talk about the ways that they do it. Well, what they do is they do box sets and anthologies, which have since been banned because they would do that for like, you know, 50 books for 99 cents and try to hit it that way. And then everybody in there gets their USAT bestseller tag. I never thought that was worth it because partly it was always important to me to have the bestseller tag mean something to me. There's always a bit of smoke and mirrors to the bestseller tags, which I feel like not everyone knows. Like New York Times bestseller list is based on the sales at specific bookstores. A bookstore has to qualify. They monitor the sales at those bookstores. It's almost entirely print. Um, USA Today had an ebook, didn't have an ebook list for a while. Then they did, then they didn't. I don't even know where they are now. I think they do. Um, so it's not always based on real firm numbers. There's some hand waving there. There's some greasing of palms. But it always mattered to me that it would be something that I did on my own with my book, because I wanted the milestone to mean something to me. And that's kind of how I've approached my whole career. Was I decided very, very early on that I was in this for the long game, that I wanted to be a career author, and that whatever, like putting my intentions out into the universe, be careful what you wish for. I wanted to be, I wanted my career to build, and I was willing to let it slowly build. I kind of wish the universe hadn't made it as slow as it was, but you take what you get. I'm a Taoist. I believe in going with the flow of the Tao, and this is how the universe wanted to do it. Then that's how we were going to do it. Uh, and that's been my core philosophy all along. And and I've seen so many authors come and go. Back in like 2009, when I was first querying novels, um, I had, or a novel, I had two friends who were also querying their novels, and we were all in a similar genre and supporting one another. And so, of the three of us, one stopped writing, the other one got a three-book deal for $30,000, which we kind of thought was the Cinderella A ticket. And then she kind of flamed out. She's still writing, but it's been hard for her, and that was not the rocket launch to success that we thought it would be. Uh, and then I ended up starting with Carina Press because they were the ones who would take the risk on my weird books, my weird cross genre books. So my first fantasy romance came out from Carina Press. I did 10 books with them, and I've gotten all of my rights back. And the story I was thinking of the other day, which coincidentally enough has to do with Darynda Jones, my bestie, but also around that same era, 2009, 2010, Darynda really got the Cinderella ticket. She, with her very first book in the Charlie Davidson series, First Grave on the Right, she sold that to St. Martin's, and it was her first book deal. And she got a 3-book deal for, I think, 300,000, something like that. That's a good ballpark. And it was amazing and incredible, and it did rocket launch her to the stratosphere, right? She's had an amazing career. She commands big advances. She has a huge audience, well deserved. I mean, she's a wonderful person and a wonderful writer. But that worked for her. Boom. Didn't work for my other friend, right? Lots of reasons why. I could spend a whole couple of podcasts on that. Let me know if you would like to hear the reasons why I think those are two different trajectories. What happened there? And how to avoid it. That's what we really want to know, right? How do I keep this from happening to me? But the story I do want to tell, 21 minutes into this podcast, is that I had another friend who was in our local writers group, and she had asked me to read her paranormal romance. And I had read it and given her some feedback. And I had offered to put her into contact with my editor at Carina Press, where I was currently being published in ebook only. And she turned me down. She said, no. She said, I'm looking for a Darynda-type deal. And so, now I'm, that's like one of my favorite phrases, a Darynda-type deal. And it was like, yeah, we all want a Darynda-type deal. I mean, everybody wants the Cinderella ticket, the rocket launch to the moon. If we get to pick that, we will take that. Killian must have gotten hung up. David's out there getting him untangled, if you can see out the window. But, it's like, no thanks. And I'm going to let you all guess what happened with this gal who turned down what was a generous offer, right? Let me connect you with my editor at this press. And I mean, she didn't have to take a book deal. She could have been, just talk to her. And for me, that's what kicked off my career. It was, I got no advance for those books. Those books made very little money. But you know what? That first Carina Press book was what got me my first agent. And I tried to tell this gal, I said, it's a foot in the door. And, some of us get the golden ticket. Some of us work the way up from the mailroom. And, that was me working my way up from the mailroom. And, being on a call with the tour team, is, like getting the corner office. No, Killian wants in here. Hold on. When he comes in from outside, he has to get up on my desk and have me take off his harness. So if you're on video, you will see that he is here and getting his harness taken off. And then he has to get pets, get scratched, and be paid attention to because the conquering lion has come home. Isn't he handsome? He's so handsome. So anyway, that's my story. I don't think I had anything to add to it, but Killian says we're done, clearly. So let's see. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will talk to you all on Monday. You all take care. Bye-bye. After I move the tail.